Welcome back. It's still good morning, Abuja, and the conversation is beginning this morning. It's an age-long struggle that between the workers and those they are working for. The relationship that exists would, from time to time, be frosty, and in some cases that relationship is so rosy that it's what's commending. That is why this is the frosty nature of some of this relationship is what gave birth to what is known as the labor unions, the workers unions, because workers had to bind together to be able to do what is called collective bargaining, to be able to advocate their own side of things, to be able to ask for either better pay, allowances, or even working conditions. And it's now a norm that all over the world, workers' union exists. And it's not the case is not different for us here at here in Abuja, especially in the FCTA. We have a very, very viable union that is there advocating for us all. And one of the things that this union does is that they see to it that the members of this union are well taken care of. It is noteworthy to say, though the times are hard, the efforts of this union is one that must be commended because they have made things a little bit easier for the members. And this is something that we are celebrating this morning. Please join me as I make welcome the leader of that union. I'm talking about Comrade Rifkatu Ayotie, who is the president, Joint Union Action Congress. It's a pleasure having you with us this morning, comrade.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Very much.
Now you are the president of the Joint Union Action Congress.
Yes, sir.
And you are primarily responsible for advocating for members of this union, especially as it has to do with the ministry or the minister of Abuja, as we would like to simplify it. Now, some people say you have a Herculean task, given the nature of the man you work with. That is His Excellency, as I like to refer to him, he is some wiki, and he has this personality of he's tough, he's rough. But I heard from you just before we started this interview that if you know him, he's just a very simple person, easy to work with, very, very accommodating. Please share with us some of these things you know about him and how you guys are able to work together to make sure that the FCTA workers are getting the best of both of you.
All right. Thank you very much, Lamaran, and good morning, our viewers. Like you said, my name is Comrade Rifkatu Ayotie, and I'm the president of JUAC, Joint Unions Action Congress, of the FCTA and FCDA. Now we are a collection of all the unions that take their pay from FCTA.
Wonderful.
That we are being paid from FCTA. In the wisdom of the management years back, just like you have Ratao in NTA, you have in ASO Radio, we have in Arts and Culture. And so different files used to just come to management and they will not understand which one is I've just treated Ratao ASO and I'm treating Ratao Arts and Culture.
Yes.
And so there was a need to bring these unions together. And that brought about the JUAC.
Okay.
So that the unions come together, speak with one voice and take it up with management.
Amazing. That's a very brilliant
That's
idea.
what we do in the FCT, and that is what brought me to this position today.
Wonderful.
Now, I was elected in March this year, but before then, if you can recollect, in 2018, the FCTA was given Civil Service Commission.
Yes.
And it was passed into law, gazetted, but there was no implementation.
That is true.
And as civil servants, all we are craving for is to get to the peak of our careers. And even though our former minister did very well and pushed it to a level, but he was not able to implement, maybe because time caught up with him.
Okay.
But immediately our present minister came on board. That was one of the cries he heard. And he went and spoke with Mr. President. And bam,
you had it.
In March 18th, the FCT Civil Service Commission was
I
inaugurated.
like the way you just put that now. You say, and bam.
Yes,
like,
because
bam, bam, bam,
yes,
bam,
it has
and
been
here
a
it
long time
is.
struggle. I remember my former president, Olu Akorodi,
Yes.
how much we have carried placards. Even when they brought a permanent secretary to us, we just say, no, go there. We refused. And, it got to the minister with other management staff that have been in this struggle. And like I said again, it came. And inauguration was done 18th of March.
What was the feeling like when it came?
We were so happy. You know what? Everybody wants to get to the peak of his career. And as a civil servant, you want to be a permanent secretary.
Yes.
We all cannot be head of service, but at least if we have positions that can take us up, at least it has created room for people down to grow.
That's true.
So with all the secretariats that we have, our mandate secretaries are there, serving as commissioners if it were a state.
Yeah, exactly.
But then now in all of these secretariats, we now have permanent secretaries. So on the 18th, 10 of them were inaugurated, picked from amongst us and jacked up. So that brought a kind of renewed hope as the president of the country.
Yes,
say,
the renewed hope in the country.
To the FCT
Yes.
Workers. That alone has brightened us up, has made us happy because our directors, if 9, 10, 11 are going to be taken up, it means room have been created.
For others
so,
to grow.
Yes, so that is what we have encountered with the ministers so far. That has really brought joy, that has affected the staff directly. And there can be no welfare like that you are being promoted. Initially, it was like a lead placed on us. You can never exceed being a director in the FCTA. But with the coming of the Civil Service Commission, which we owe it to our Honorable Minister, Barrister Wickham,
yes.
for what he has done for us. So that is the number one thing. And other small incentives like payment of arrears, even the implementation of the 25% salary adjustment, he has paid.
Oh, you have received?
We are up to date. He has paid the backlog. We are up to date. For that, we are happy.
Exactly. You see, don't believe everything you hear they say, and don't believe everything people say when they talk bad about somebody. Make effort to either know that person or speak to the people who truly know that person. I can assure you that just knowing this of the Honorable Minister has just raised my respect bar for him. But now the question I was going to ask was to talk about the specific challenges that workers under the JUAC are experiencing, but just telling us of how you now have this commission in place and how the prospect of growth is now firmly entrenched in the service is something that is worth celebrating. And now we're still discussing the union. Now, of course, there must be other areas that naturally should be of concern. I'm talking within the union. For a union that is a collaboration of different unions who are drawing pay from the FCTA, having a convergence like you now have in the Joint Union Action Congress, and you being the president, can you enumerate for us some of the challenges now you experience maybe within the union now before we begin to talk about how the union itself carries itself outside themselves?
Yeah, human beings are different, and so are our characters and behaviors. But the one good thing that I know that the joint union does is, no matter what it is, you just sit down and debate and debate. Sometimes we go for meeting starting from 11 and we end by 4 p.m. Because it will be a lot of debate. No, this one is not good for this one. No, this one is not good for this one. No, and then, but we pull our problems and make sure that they are articulated, and then we deal with them one by one, because what affects one affects the other. So we do not single it out. And what one achieves, we try to replicate in the other so that we move together as one. So even though we have our different constitutions from different unions and all, when we come together, we do not try to look down on one another. We now know we are at par. The key thing here is welfare of our members. And so we do not want to know whether you are a superior union, you're not a superior union. But now that we are here and we are working for over 33 to 35,000 staff, what do we do? And so we bring all our ideas to bear, all our experiences to bear, going back to them to discuss with them. This is what is being said here. What is so we take back from these members of staff and different unions and bring it to the table. And when we are able to solve it, we go back to them and say, we think for it to cut across everybody, this is the best way to go. It might not sit down very well with some people, but if it will sit with like 80% of the people, we go with the decision. And we've
Amazing.
been doing well.
Amazing.
Thank you.
I am super excited having this conversation with you because having seen you work, having experienced how patriotic you are and how fired up you are when you are pursuing a goal, and especially something that you know is not about you, it's not about the benefit for you, but something that you feel would touch on everybody and everybody could smile. I know how you're like a tigress when you hunt those things. And so I can say the Joint Union Action Congress is really, really lucky to have you as its president at this particular point in time. Now, finally, it's time for us to go because we are running out of time. But I would like to hear some words of advice to you, especially against the backdrop that to whom much is given, much is expected. Now, if you have a principal who listens, who addresses, who responds, like the minister is doing, of course, there must be expectations from the part of the workforce. And so let's speak to that very quickly as we bring this interview to an end.
Thank you very much, Namaran. In fact, in the congresses we have, like we're going to have one at the end of the year. We normally have like 3-4 times in a year.
Okay.
We call our staff and we tell them, like the commission has been formed, and we spoke with the chairman of commission, and he told us the way to go. He's going to now be doing promotion it's going to be a CBT kind of promotion exam, computer-based test. You do it and all. And so we go back to our people and say, if the management is putting this much, we too have to jack up ourselves, improve on ourselves. You do not wait for only management training. On your own, go out of your way, try to improve yourself, try to be up to date. Now is computer era. Do not sit back, because right now that we're not going to, by God's grace, like they say, write a paper exam. You need to be knowledgeable. We need to come to work early. We need to fit in with what is moving so that we're not left behind. And at the end, we don't want to be found wanting.
This is also a call to service for other ministries and other places who are supposed to do same, to step up, get up, and begin to do it. Let the what they call it, this the interventions that is coming from the center get to the grassroots. I've been having a beautiful conversation talking about the FCTA and the Joint Union Action Congress, the synergy that exists between two of them, and how it's bringing ease to the workers of the FCTA and FCDA. Thank you for coming, Ma.
Thank you very much, Labaran. My pleasure.
Yeah, so I've been having this conversation with Comrade Rifkatu, and she's the president of JOAC, and she's here in the studio to tell us about the amazing things that is happening in the union and, of course, at the ministry. Stay with us as we go on this musical break. Remember, it's still Good Morning Abuja. Good morning, and thank you for staying with us on the program Good Morning Abuja. Yes, it's another beautiful Tuesday morning, and of course, it's a day for great expectations. It's a day for you to reflect and tax yourself once more on those things that you set out to achieve and you're working hard to achieve, but for one reason or the other, you've not been able to get them done. Don't give up. There's still a lot of time till the end of the year. And though we're in the Ember months and we're wrapping up September, we still have October, November, and of course, the December to celebrate. So there's still a lot that you could do with your time, and today is a good day to start thinking the way that our motivational talk has set the tone for. So it's still nice having you join us, and this morning we are going to be celebrating life. One of the beauties of life is the fact that in living, we have something called light. Now, imagine this, that if we all have to live in darkness, perpetual darkness, I can't see you, you can't see me. There is absolutely nothing that we can achieve. And we begin to question, then what's the purpose of even having eyes if we are going to be living in the dark? I know I saw a series once, something that almost everybody there was blind and they have to be tapping their way. It didn't look good. I can assure you that. So this is not taking away anything from those who are physically challenged. That is those who have lost their sight, because we at least we can see, and so we help them get by. Notwithstanding that this morning I want us to celebrate light, and in celebrating light, I want us to celebrate the process of capturing that instant, that of preserving that moment through a device that is able to capture light or use light to freeze the moment. I'm talking about photography this morning. And as it is said, I say photography takes an instant out of time, altering life itself by just holding it. So imagine this beautiful thing you're saying, photography grabs it and keeps it. This is our conversation this morning. And trust me, I'll be having this conversation with no other but one I refer to as my own Oga. I'm talking about Khalil Danladi Yakubu, the head photographer, Calligraphy Studios. Good morning and thank you for joining us on the
Good
show.
morning, good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Now you can understand why I call him my Oga. You can see that some of the things I do, I try to do it like you know, just to, you know, it's a pleasure having you, sir.
The pleasure is mine.
Yes, life is beautiful. And we can say its beauty is enhanced by the presence of light. Now, I sometimes sit and I reflect, I say, okay, they say the sun is millions of miles
Yes.
away from Earth.
Yeah.
Yet we feel the intensity of its heat here. Now, it's not just the intensity I am interested in. I'm talking about the beauty that the rays of the sun is able to reveal in this our small corner that we live. That you wake up in the morning and you are able to see the faces of people, the beauty in plants, the beauty in animals, the ambience. Yes, the road is constructed. It's not about driving. You first of all see its beauty. There's a building, an architectural design. You see, wow. Sometimes a friend of mine even told me, say, the taste in the food is not in the food itself. It is from the eyes.
That's interesting.
Now, you are an accomplished photographer. Let us first of all explore photography. What, in your own opinion, constitutes photography, and how important is it?
So, thank you again for having me. And I think that you've laid out with your beautiful intro photography and how it is essentially just us capturing the things that light falls upon, right? So everything from scenery to texture to the smiles on our faces, you know, photography, it's a beautiful career. It is of extreme importance, in my opinion, right? There is just so much of our history, of our tradition, of our cultures, of our day-to-day life, you know, and documentation of beauty in the world around us. That just means photography is, you know, one of the most, in my opinion, one of the most important careers and professions. And, you know, so yeah, as a photographer, I feel like I am very fortunate to be able to see, you know, the beauty that the world holds, you know, to be able to tell people stories, to be able to document, maybe even because primarily I'm a portrait photographer, so maybe even show people a different side to themselves, you know. So yes, I feel very privileged to be a photographer.
And I share those exact sentiments from the point of what I would describe now as broadcast photography, because you're able to see us because the cameras are utilizing light to capture these images, these moments of ours, and you're able to watch us from your homes and wherever you are, and seeing and hearing the beauty that the world has to sell. But now, as an accomplished photographer, you have had vast experiences in freezing moments, in capturing moments, in preserving life, if I must use that phrase. Because what you do is, let me give an example.
Okay, sure.
There was a day I happened upon my father's old box. For some reason, I was cleaning the room and I just chanced upon the box, and I was like, having nothing to do, let me just go through. I've been through that box a couple of times, but at different stages of life. And at on that particular day, as I opened the box and I was flipping through some of the items, I brought out a picture. I saw a picture, and that picture I looked at the picture and I said, this is me.
Right.
This is certainly me and my father.
Right.
And then I took the picture to my mother and I asked her about it. And she said, yes, that is you with your father. It was a Saturday. You just got back from Eid prayer ground. And as I looked at that picture, I was trying to remember if I could remember that day. What was the feeling like?
If your mind could recall.
And I could not recall because I was just about 4 years old. But see how that picture has kept my father alive in my heart. For that moment, at that particular time I saw that picture, there was a feeling that awoken in me. Now, you have captured so many moments like this for people. Yes. And please just describe for us how this as a business can be expanded.
So I like telling stories.
Okay.
So I like the fact that you told me the story of finding a picture of your dad. Let me share this with you. There's a family I photographed.
Okay.
My uncle and his family. They live abroad. They live in the UK. They had not been to Nigeria for about 7 years. So them coming back, they had a list of things they wanted to do. We're going here, we're going to do this or that. And on their list was, we're going to take pictures at Calligraphy Studios. So as you can imagine, I was honored, I was humbled by that. Now, I was fortunate enough, we had them, we took pictures of them, it went well. But shortly after they returned, the pandemic started. So, of course, the world shut down, right? And him being a retired medic meant when the pandemic started, he decided, I can't just sit and not do anything. Let me go back to help. So he goes back to help. The world needed as many hands as it could at the time. Unfortunately, the pandemic, we lost him to the pandemic. About 3 weeks after I went back to work. Now, I call to, send my condolences to the family. And the first thing that his son, when he answered the phone, said was, thank you for the pictures you took. Thank you for the pictures you took. And I got emotional, I was expecting, of course, you're calling somebody that is grieving. That is the person that's supposed to be emotional, But it made me emotional. It showed the value of the work that we do. It means that even whatever it is that you pay a photographer, it's just compensation. You can't really, that picture to you that you spoke about, what's the value?
The value is if I was to pay for that picture, I will even the money I don't have, I will pay it.
So in my years of photographing people and capturing these memories for them, every day I just realized that this is beyond now. I might take a good picture of you now, but who knows? Years down the line, your son might be looking through an old box and will see a picture that will, some of the memories that you have, some of the feelings, that will replicate some of the feelings that you have right now. So, yeah, I have a lot of these stories. It's what keeps me fulfilled as a photographer.
Amazing.
The money is good, yes. You can't complain, but it is knowing that they might not even know themselves that what you are doing is you're keeping memories for them that 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line will mean the world.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's been a fulfilling career so far.
We'll go on a short break now. When we come back, I'll be discussing the business side of
Yeah.
photography with, of course, my Oga here, as I like to call him, of Calligraphy Studio. Just stay with us. There's something that you're going to learn if you stay. And trust me, this is that moment where you don't want to miss. So we'll be right back. Welcome back. We are discussing photography, and this is something that is very exciting because you are able to watch us because the devices we are using to bring this program to you are photography devices. Now, let's come down to calligraphy now.
Sure.
You have a signature touch you're known for, and this is why certain brands and influencers and other people that you work with, you've been able to create that niche for yourself that defines you. Now, why do you need the niche first, and then now that you do and you have those people, is it profitable to say, to just summarize it?
Yeah, so working with brands, influencers, companies, um, it's been I've been privileged to work with quite a few people. I'm grateful for the opportunities that have been presented before me. And yes, to a certain extent, it's because I have an identity. I have a niche, so to speak. Um, the thing is, when you're working with these people, let me just advise anybody that's watching that has an interest in working
Yes.
with brands and influencers, is a common mistake we make is, so I want to work with you. You're on TV. I am looking at the things that I will gain from working with you.
Yes.
This personality has maybe this large following, or they might give me access to this place, and it might be good for my portfolio, my CV, if I work with. But that's the wrong way to approach it. You will get more work with brands and influencers if you show them what you can give them, as opposed to what you're
going to
from
get
them.
from them.
So if I approach, I don't know who we could use as an example. If I approach a chef,
Yes.
owns a restaurant, right? This restaurant is popular. It will be good for my portfolio if I'm working with this person. Now, if I go to the chef and I show a portfolio, I have photographed a few restaurants before. These are the impressions. Before I photographed them, their social media was doing 100 likes per day. But after I took pictures for them, it went to 500 likes per day, for example.
Yes.
Right? Because these are things that you need to measure. If you are approaching a brand, you need to be able to show numbers as to why they should work with you. When I'm talking to a chef and I say, my mother was a chef when I was growing up. So I used to see how she used to plate food. So I have some experience in arranging a table and, making, the food I'm about to photograph look better. You see, all of this is me presenting the value that I am coming with.
Yes.
Right? When people see the value that you have, they are more likely to go. Now it's an equal exchange.
Yes.
They're giving you, you're giving them.
Back.
Right. So while you build your niche, you build your identity in order to attract these brands, the more important thing is, what value are you giving them beyond pictures?
That is very correct. So, I'm taking it so much. I don't know if my head is going to be able to accommodate all of this knowledge that I'm getting in just this very short time. Yeah. Unfortunately, we are running out of time. But before we go, I'd like also hear from Khalil. Now, you have so much knowledge, experiences you have, and you're still making more. You're still gathering more.
Yes.
However,
More to do.
I know one of the things you do is you like to give back. And in giving back, you like to share this knowledge, just as you're sharing with us, our viewers, and all of us here. Now, let's talk about giving back. Some of the workshop and tutorials that you've engaged, that you've participated in and engaged with especially young learners,
Yeah.
in shaping the next generation of interest-driven photographers or
Right.
people whose passion for this profession would spiral or capture the future for those who will come after them.
Right.
What drives this, and what has been how has it been in giving back?
Um, so I like the way you put it, giving back. That's a very good way to put it because I feel like I've been fortunate in my career to gain a lot of knowledge from people, whether it's colleagues, whether it's the University of YouTube, as we call it, free education. There's just so much out there that people have put out that I've gained from. But I also personally realized, as after I started teaching, I realized, come to think of it, my father was a teacher. My mother was a teacher. So, maybe that's where I get it from.
Okay.
It adds depth to what I do. I've seriously enjoyed it. I have fortunate enough to have a workshop called the Portrait Workshop, which we do annually, where we curate the the class towards portrait photographers specifically. Everything going from when a client calls you, how do you answer the phone? How do you, present value like we spoke about earlier? What are the things you do in preparation for the shoot? What happens the day of the shoot? How do you treat the client? What happens after they leave your studio? How do you present the images? Do you print? Do you not print? Ethics, all of those things, right? Just specifically for Poetry Workshop, and it's been a blessing. This year we had 19 students, the year before we had 11, so we're growing. But then also, because I have a YouTube channel now where, just as much as I can, we try to put out a video every week where we just share knowledge. This is how you photograph cops, for example.
Yeah.
Just putting out there, and it's been very fulfilling. The response has been good. We feel like we've been able to impact on the people that are coming. One of the things we're trying to change about photography is we didn't really have any books. There were no schools to teach us photography. We learned a lot of these things on our own. So we're trying to change it for the people that are coming. That if you decide today to buy a camera to start photography, then there is portrait workshop to attend. Then there is, and so many of colleagues have workshops that the options are just, it's not just about me. A lot of our colleagues have very wonderful workshops, very wonderful platforms, whether it's in person or online or, through our YouTube channels. It's been good. It's changing the perception of photography, because even with parents, when young people, photography is not a traditional career. So you might get some resistance from your parents after they've seen you through school, say you want to be a photographer. But why not the traditional jobs?
Doctor.
Yes,
Yes.
why not an
Lawyer.
engineer? Why not I
Yeah.
mean, I faced it because I'm an architect. That's what I went to school for.
Whoa.
So telling my people in the end that after architecture, I want to be a photographer. They weren't there. Well, let me not say there aren't too many examples to look at and say, oh, this is a successful photographer. So you can be like this person. We're trying to change those perceptions.
Exactly.
Thanks again to people like Bayo Mobori, people like Henry Oji of Big H Studios. I like to add myself to the list. There's so many of us now that are, gratefully, thank God, who are being in positions now where people can look at us, whether it is the work we're doing or the educational platforms that we've been fortunate to create, that people can look at us and be like, yes, photography, because this person has done it, because this person is successful, because they're passing their knowledge. Go ahead.
Wonderful. And of course, the conversation this morning is one that if we intend to continue with, we just might use up all the whole time and we'll still not be able to do justice to the topic. Because, hey, I remember on this same program, we had a guest come one time that said if he was to advocate, he would advocate that the curriculum has a photography course in every primary and secondary school, so that by the time the child leaves secondary school, he already has an idea of how to capture moments, preserve our memories, and when he steps into the university, his head is already supercharged
Yeah.
to be able to use what he has learned to do
Yes.
this. And I think that is what you're re-echoing now.
Yes.
And I strongly stand for it. This morning, we've been having this beautiful conversation about capturing moments, preserving life in a frame, and with none other but my Oga. I still keep saying my Oga because trust me, I learned a lot.
You're too kind.
Carl Benladi Yakubu, the head photographer, Calligraphy Studios.
Yes.
It's been a pleasure having you in the studio.
Thank you
We
so
look forward
much.
to expanding this conversation maybe in the weeks and months to come. So
Honored,
we'll
yes.
push one more invitation to you so that we could really
I'll be
conclude on some
happy
of our
to. I'll be
conversation.
happy to. Thank you very much. Thank you.
The program is Good Morning Abuja, and I'm having an interesting time on the show this morning because there's so much that I've learned from our guest this morning, and I am sure you have too. This is truly, truly beyond what can be paid for. So thank you for sharing this with us. Quickly now, we will go on a short break. When we come back, there's still a lot that we have lined up for you on the show. Stay with us.